Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: people who don't want to tax the 1% but are not in the 1%, why? Most people don't realize that the 1% is taxed very little on unearned income. Even Jeff Bezos earns less than $100,000 a year. So a majority of his income is taxed at a lower rate because it's unearned. He's taxed income tax on his salary, which is intentionally kept low, and capital gains on everything else. Capital gains is lower than income to encourage investment, hence he pays lower taxes overall. The thing with capital gains is that it only comes into effect if he sells something. Let's say you own $1 in stock. The stock price doubles, so now you theoretically own $2 in stock. So you're worth twice as much. But unless you sell that $2 share, you don't pay capital gains on that $1 gain, because it's unrealized. With Bezos, his wealth might go up a lot because the value of Amazon increased, but unless he sells Amazon stock, there's nothing really to tax because he isn't actually gaining any real money. Reddit: if you believe X, please explain why. Everyone on Reddit that doesn't believe X, let me answer this one. Edit typo. Not an X, but I knew an X once. Here you go. X gonna give it to ya. I am for taxing the 1%. But doing so would mean closing tax loopholes. Closing enough loopholes to matter would mean an entire overhaul of our tax system, which I am also for. However, when this sort of thing inevitably comes up, the powers that be have all the power. They can and will use their influence to create new, harder to close loopholes in the new tax code. They will use their influence to stay where they are. The only way to strip the 1% of their influence is to take the money out of politics. But the politicians don't want that, so they will fight doing so even without the need of 1% to influence them. I fear that, in the end, the 1% will stay where they are, and the middle class will end up taxed up the arse so politicians can say they have actually done something. The system is the problem, and while we are so busy throwing shit at each other across the aisle, nothing will change. Change would mean some pretty extreme compromise, and I don't see either side of the aisle willing to do so. Exactly. Politics shouldn't be a bloodbath. I wonder who would run for office if there wasn't any financial or any kind of gain at all. The kind of people that want to enact positive change for the country and the citizens, not the kind of weasels looking to get rich that we have now. The only really conceivable way to tax wealth is to force stock liquidations, which I don't like for moral and pragmatic reasons. Elon Musk isn't sitting on a pile of billions of dollars like a dragon would. So you're saying that Elon Musk's dragon doesn't have anything comfy to sit on? He can sit on Elon Musk. Edit: this is my best post ever, thank you to everyone. Awards and 2.0 Kelvin likes plus, never had this, it's amazing. He actually probably is. Bezos, for example, I believe has cashed out $4 billion this year alone. Most of these billionaires are regularly liquidating. I believe in 2020 he withdrew $8 billion in liquid assets. If you guys want an actual answer instead of people circle jerking, then sort by controversial. Lol. BC: we might be in the 1% someday, so we wouldn't want to hurt our future selves. /S. John Steinbeck once said that socialism never took root in America because the poor see themselves not as an exploited proletariat but as temporarily embarrassed millionaires. Edit quotation marks. Why are you cheering, Fry? You're not rich. True, but someday I might be rich. And then people like me better watch their step. Because tax rate doesn't matter until tax loopholes are closed. Anyone talking about tax hikes on the 1% is just looking for class warfare points and is fully aware these people dodge majority of taxes. When someone wants to actually use our vast spying technology to financially audit the 1%, you found your winner. Why do you talk as if the two issues are mutually exclusive? The loopholes can be closed while simultaneously increasing the tax rate on the top 1%. In fact, that is exactly what needs to happen to start fixing wealth inequality in America. I think they are saying more that the loophole issue is never addressed, and when people address only the tax hike and not fixing the loopholes, it comes off as class warfare points and nothing else. The federal government collects trillions, and spends the bulk of it on nonsense, or, even worse, on predator drones, missiles and domestic surveillance. They neither need, nor deserve, more money. They could tax at 99% and none of that money would go towards helping people. People complain about pork barrel politics, but there are so many boondoggle investments the US government has. I would rather less of the latter and more of the former, especially with infrastructure. Let me preface this by saying I don't actually disagree with your point about the defense budget being too big and too wasteful, but as a counterpoint, the US government doesn't spend the bulk of it on the defense budget. Medicare, Social Security, and interest on the national debt account for over half of the federal budget. The Defense Department gets 50 to 60% of what's left over after those are paid for, and all other government spending gets the remaining dollars. With an aging population, Medicare and Social Security will become insolvent without cuts to other spending or tax hikes, or ideally, both. And arguably those programs do help regular everyday people. I don't include Social Security. It's funded by its own, separate tax, and its biggest problem is that they keep raiding it to pay for their other bullshit. Social Security would work fine without raising taxes if they'd stop doing that. Medicare is also a separate tax, and I'd rather see that raised than income or capital gains taxes, simply because I know how it will be spent. Because every tax hike ever levied starts out for the 1%. But the 1% find loopholes in the tax code, and that tax on the 1% eventually falls to the middle class. The first income tax was only on the top 1% of people, and it was only like 0.5%. Now look where we are. Not to mention all the other lovely taxes our government has foisted upon us. Middle class already pays wealth tax. We call it property tax. The median home price is in the ballpark of the median wealth. Wealthy people comparatively hold a much smaller percentage of their wealth in real estate. Distrust every single time they say they are taxing the rich more, the rest of us get shit on. So every time I hear them talking about only raising taxes in the rich, I get ready for the next way we are getting screwed. Then we address the problem of corruption, not avoid taxing those with the means to support higher taxes. Because I don't believe that complex problems have simple solutions, and I think that politicians just use the 1% as a scapegoat to distract from the fact that they are horribly incompetent at their job. I say this with respect, Mr. Balls_penis too. There's real irony in saying you think things are complicated and that we shouldn't scapegoat people, and then scapegoating politicians as horribly incompetent. I'm aware it is kinda ironic, and a lot of people from political persuasions not too different than mine like to use the government as a scapegoat, but I only really mean it in the context of spending. The government does a lot of good that it doesn't get credit for, but at the same time I think we all agree that our current budget doesn't reflect the standards of our roads, public bathrooms, schools, etc. If you seized all the wealth, not income but every single fucking penny owned by every billionaire in America, it would last us about 11 months of operating budget. I do think people should pay their fair share, but the idea that we can tax our way out of poor spending habits, it absolutely asinine. Nailed it. Federal spending needs to be examined by all and reined in. If charities have waste and overhead, so does the federal government. It's like they're telling the SGK Foundation to hold their beer. Explain why you believe they are not taxed enough. Are your beliefs on fact or what you're hearing from others? Whatever income is earned is taxed. No getting around it. Their wealth is their wealth until they divert it to income. Then it's taxed. The top 1% paid 1/3 of all federal taxes collected last year. The other top 49% paid the other 2/3 roads. Over 40% of US citizens paid zero. https://taxfoodatio.org. In 2017, the top 50% of all taxpayers paid 97% of all individual income taxes, while the bottom 50% paid the remaining 3%. The top 1% paid a greater share of individual income taxes, 38.5%, than the bottom 90% combined, 29.9%. The top 1% of taxpayers paid a 26.8% average individual income tax rate, which is more than 6 times higher than taxpayers in the bottom 50%, 4.0%. People don't understand the difference between wealth theoretical money on paper vs income actual real dollars in your bank account. That's why they all scream about Bezos and the Waltons. Bezos lives in a $165 million house. That money he has is very actual and real. People scream about Bezos and the Waltons because the profits that their businesses make that enrich them should be rebalanced to pay better wages and benefits to the labor that generates the value. Amazon and Walmart simply don't pay enough, and many workers are on government assistance of some kind because of it. People that are working full-time are on food stamps. That should never be the case. That's the reason that people point at Bezos and the Waltons, even if they don't quite realize it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't conflate all federal taxes with federal income tax. Payroll taxes exist, which are just taxed on the first $130,000 you make, which means anyone making more than $130,000 is paying less when compared to their income. In fact, when you take taxes as a whole, including federal, state, and local, as a share of income, the top 1% make about 21% of the total income in the US, while paying about 24% of the taxes, while the lowest 20% make about 3% of the total income and pay 2% of the taxes. Effective tax rates are around 20% for the poorest 20% and somewhere around 33% for the top 1%, which is a progressive tax, but not significantly so, especially considering the difference in income between the top 1% and the lowest 20%. Just saying, don't let those statistics fool you, context exists. Also don't conflate federal income tax for all federal taxes. https://iteep.org. There is a reason why payroll taxes are capped. It's because they fund unemployment and Social Security. If you make people pay into systems at above $130,000, they will never use it because rich people don't use those programs and they already paid their share. Plus high-income individuals pay the net investment income tax, which is their above and beyond contribution to Medicare. In short, payroll taxes fund very specific programs. Income tax goes to the general fund. I do think wealthy people could bear more of the tax burden, but you are leaving out context, while accusing others of doing the same. Edit, Medicare, Social Security. Cause I was being dumb.